So on Custodev stuff, Jason was asking if you can combine both a discovery meeting and a commitment meeting in one, or if they need to be separate. The way this normally works is early on when you don't know what's going on, they kind of have to be separate because you don't have enough conviction or understanding, and you're just wrong. You're too wrong with your product guesses. So like during the meetings, if you've asked good learning questions, you're like, whoa, this makes me rethink stuff. And it's really hard to go from that into asking for a commitment when you're like, wow, like there's this important set of features I didn't know about. So in that case, the best commitments you can ask for is time. Or reputation. So you either ask for a follow-on meeting in X months, conditional on you having something to show them. Like, hey, you've given me a lot to think about here. I'm going to work on this and this and this. Can I come back to you in like 3 weeks or whenever it's ready and talk through it with you to make sure that that would solve this problem? So you can do this very conditional time commitment. The more concrete you can be with what the conditional trigger is for that next meeting or that recommendation, the more it's worth. If it's just like, hey, sometime can we talk again? They're going to say yes, so that means nothing. The more concrete you can make it, the better. That's one type of commitment when everything's fuzzy. But what's going to happen is you move to the middle stages of Custodev where you've actually got some concreteness to your product and you're not like completely in la la land in your head. You're kind of able to go into sales mode if you wanted to. But it's still really useful to be able to begin the meetings with some open-ended questions if the person is friendly and not in a rush and open to that. Now, the problem this creates is that the way you frame a discovery conversation tends to be pretty low pressure. It's like, hey, we're trying to figure this out. You're exposing vulnerability. You're saying like, I'm just trying to learn. I'm not trying to sell you anything. That's what creates this safety where they feel like they can talk to you about their challenges or their budgets or why previous solutions haven't worked or what's gone wrong, which is all really useful for learning. Now, as you switch into a sales type of conversation, the problem is that you're now breaking the expectations you set. So if you set the expectations of a sales meeting, it's really hard to get the open-ended learning and for the vulnerability to happen on both sides, which lets you get to the stuff that really matters. Sales meetings, both people are being more polished and professional. You're being more polished because you've got the answer, and they're being more polished because they're in negotiation mode and they don't want to reveal weakness or what they really need or how important it is to them, because then you're going to be able to leverage them in negotiations and charge them more. So it's a little bit delicate. And what I like to do is I either set it up as a sales meeting, but I go, hey, before we get started, do you mind if I ask, how are you dealing with this? Or how do you do this? And if they're friendly, they can sometimes tell you that. And that's like the small talk stage. A good way to do this is as you're walking to the place where you're meeting, or if you're meeting in a cafe, as you're waiting in line for the coffee, so that the change in space kind of dictates the change in conversation. So you can set it up as a sales or a product pitch meeting and then have a bit of open-ended small talk at the beginning to knock out a couple learning goals. Or you can do the opposite and you can set it up as a learning conversation, which is going to be more vulnerable. And then at a certain point, you can ask for permission to transition into a pitch or a sales conversation, but then you have to respect the permission. So the way I like to do this is like, it's like, oh man, you've helped me out so much. This is like incredible. As you've probably guessed, like we're working on a product, or like we've got a product at this stage of development. I said I was just here to learn, and like you've helped me out so much already. But if you were ever interested, now, another time, I would love to talk you through what we're building, or like show you the product demo, or get your thoughts on, the exact features or whatever. You give them an easy way to get out, and you almost make the default that the thing's not going to continue. They've already done what they said they were going to do, which is help you out by sharing their experiences and perspective. But you're sort of like dangling, like this thing exists. If you're really keen, you can opt in to learn more about it. And some people will be like, oh yeah, I'd love to see it. Like, yeah, I've got another 10 minutes. Can we do it now? Sometimes people will be like, they'll make their excuses. And if they make their excuses, that's fine. They've already helped you out. No big deal. They probably weren't going to, you could pressure them into sitting through the pitch, but like that's going to burn your bridge reputationally with them. And they're also very unlikely to convert into a customer. So that's how I do it. Is like, I give them the option, but I really don't pressure them. And I know in my head, whether it's primarily a learning meeting, in which case I might offer the product demo, request permission to transition, but I'm not going to force it. Or if it's primarily a product demo sales pitch meeting, in which case I might ask some open-ended learning questions at the beginning. But if they're closed and already in defensive negotiation mode, like no big deal, because I'm primarily there to pitch and to sell. So one or other takes priority, but yeah, if you're respectful about it or smart about it, you can definitely combine them both into a single meeting.